Welcome to you, Purple.
Hello, Jim. Hello, Bill. Reggie.
Hello, Damien.
Bit going on.
There is, isn't there? We may as well start with the story of the weekend, the after-match incident between Kenny Hinkley and the Hawthorn Footy Clubs.
Talking about that,
Well,
Damien.
we're just going to sign off on it, Bill. It is the talking point, and I think what it did prove was that Hawthorn can give it, but they can't necessarily take it. And I just say that in the context of how they carried themselves the entire year. And personally, I was in on it. I loved every aspect of it. I was defensive of Jack Ginnivan. I was defensive of the celebrations at some. But if you're going to then have someone come back at you in this space, you've got to cop it. So the proviso is if you're going to give it, take it. And I think that's been a fallout for them. And
Well, that's certainly what my old man Stixie Brayshaw used to say to me in my joint. You see, because you won't surprise anyone to know that I was decent at handing it out.
Oh, of course
And,
you would have
and
been.
then every now and then you'd get a clip.
you're
They'd
decent at
say,
copping
well,
it too, because
you
Murph
hand it
Hughes
out,
used to give it to you, didn't you?
You've got to be able to cop it. That's as simple as that.
Exactly.
And I agree with what you're saying. It's no problem handing it out. Everyone was happy with all of that. But when it comes firing back at you, you've just got to go, well, fair enough.
And as we said on the Saturday rub, Bill, there's emotion at play here. And we give concessions around all of that.
Yeah.
But I didn't like what Sam Mitchell did about making it ageist. I mean, I've got a young player and there's an older man. And I didn't like that narrative. I mean, Jack Ginnivan's a 4-year player now in the system.
Yes. But I reckon Sam was devastated with the loss. There was a lot going on with him there. He was really, really down. What I was interested in, the former Hawthorn players having a crack.
And
they're still going.
They're still, mate.
So give me some names.
Derm.
Oh, no.
Derm was.
the number one.
Bloody hope.
Geordie Lewis.
More out than... Oh, but
Hodgie. He was strong. Hodgie.
Come on himself. He's belted more than anyone in his time.
But he never squealed. He
Never did, which is what we loved about it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
And again, it won't matter because when it's all said and done and they take a breath on the season, getting through to finish 6th on the ladder in 2024 was an extraordinary
Magnificent,
achievement.
yeah,
They
bloody
clearly
oath it was.
felt they should and could have gone further, and I tend to agree with them. I think they could have had a chance at the grand final itself, Bill, had they got through Port Adelaide. They didn't. And equally, too, when I refer to that emotion, Bill, I feel that James Sicily's dealing with his own mental problems, having missed the goal in the last minute
hit the post.
to get them through to a prelim final, as much as what it was that Ken was
He
directing.
just needed someone to say something so he could fire up.
And he did. And you understand all of that. There's no
exactly.
criticism of that, but that's how it unfolds.
No.
And just to line up the fine that the AFL did inflict on Ken Hinkley and the club, 20,000, it is the same as the Jason McCartney and GWS cop the week before, where there was a physical element to that one. It's equally the same number that was given to Alistair Clarkson when he used the homophobic slur way back in the pre-season against Jimmy Webster of the
All
St Kilda
20
Footy Club.
grand.
All got 20 grand. Clarkson got a 2-match suspended sanction that hovers over his head on top of that. But you're dealing with the same numbers, so I thought it was a bit over the top. Again, we discussed this on Saturday as well, but just for those catching up, that the whole Dustin Martin possibilities around the Gold Coast Suns, that is now in train and in play. And
So he rang them.
yeah, I have ascertained that, Bill, quite clearly now. It's been, again, depending on who you want to believe, and as always with Dusty, there's a lot of murkiness around what does and doesn't happen. But in my eyes, it's been the best part of 18 months exploring the possibilities. Now, how that has looked and how those conversations have unfolded, but it's not a shock to the Gold Coast Suns that right now that he's out of contract officially, that he could will be on there. And it will be on their terms. I've also learnt that too. And there won't be much money involved. He's clearly no longer aligned and tied to a football club. And the wage bill, it may be as little as $400,000 should it eventuate.
That's all right.
And that's probably about...
And a couple of bonuses there
if he
plays
performs.
10 or 15 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to the Cats.
What about Jack Darling?
Yeah.
Has he had a medical this morning at North Melbourne?
Yeah.
And it looks like he might go to North Melbourne. And why would he go to North Melbourne?
Why would North
No,
feel the
that's
need
what
to
I'm
go
saying.
down that
Yeah,
path?
no,
I don't get
Jim,
it.
you're the former president.
No,
What's going on
I
there,
have
Jim?
nothing to do with the bringing of players into the club, Fat. I didn't
No,
actually
I
when I
gather
was
that,
there,
but
let alone now.
You're former president. What's your take
I think
on it?
they would argue that Larky needs some help, and I don't think you can argue that. He was folded back on all year, so they do need someone else down there. And maybe they don't think they've got that someone else in their ranks at the moment.
Someone who's been in the system 15 years and hasn't had a good past 2 or 3
Yeah.
years.
Oh,
That
no, that's
person?
the
had a
obvious
poor year.
response. I don't know. I don't know, but that's I imagine Purple. That's what they'll say.
Yeah,
he
I
needs some help.
agree with Larky needing help. We've all said it. He hasn't got any at all. But I don't know whether Jack Darling at this late stage of his career is
I
going to be
wouldn't
that
have thought
person.
either.
The other thing they would probably no, they wouldn't say this, but I would probably say is that people aren't falling over themselves to go there at the moment. So maybe beggars can't be choosers, particularly at the minute.
And that is.
I mean that's going to be a problem.
But
for
it'd be a
them until they
2-year
turn it
deal.
around.
It'd have to be at least 2.
At least 2, yeah.
And it'd
knowing
be
his
fair.
management, he might even be trying to get for 3. So
Purple's just giving them a clip.
Oh, well, no. I'm actually praising the management.
Right,
to get Jack Darling a fresh 2-year deal at this stage of his footy career, it's a pretty good effort,
And
I
it'd be
reckon.
good coin, wouldn't it?
Well, it would be because North has to go to effectively 95%. You can go down a bit low if you're
Fat
forward
might come
some
out of
payments.
bloody retirement.
Yeah,
Imagine
it would
Fat.
be good money though. You're quite right,
You
Bill.
weren't a good down the line option when you were playing.
Yes, I was. Kick it. And I used to punch it over.
Decoy.
Did you?
Didn't try and mark it.
Didn't try and mark it.
Didn't try and mark it.
I just punched it over the boundary line, down the line.
Yes.
And then we've got the Geelong Footy Club, which is just sitting pretty, waiting for Port Adelaide on Friday night, and
The Lions.
sorry, the Lions maybe the next day. Yeah, no, hang on. No.
Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, Brisbane Lions. Yeah,
Lions,
Brisbane Lions. Yeah, and the decision they've got to make, Bill, with the Tom Stewart thing, he's a lock, obviously.
comes in, yes.
But then you've got some really, really emotional decisions on Cam Guthrie and Tom Hawkins, and even to an extent, Sam De Koning, who was a star of the premiership run in 2022, and now can't get a game as a ruckman because Reece Stanley's re-emerged and is in favour again, and equally the back line is functioning very, very nicely without him.
At the minute, exactly, with Blixar's going back.
Well, all we know is I think the best coach in football, Chris Scott, is a ruthless individual.
Yeah.
So he will pick the team he
But
thinks
you know
is
what
gonna
else
win.
Chris Scott has done over the last 11, 12 years? Looked after his senior players. Geez, look, he's
He's not
played
going to
them.
do that in a prelim
Well, how do you know that?
because I just don't think he will.
But he has looked after his senior players all along.
Are
I'll
you
give him that.
telling us
Are you
know
saying
something
they're coming in?
Oh, look at him. He's not.
No, I'm not saying Hawk. I'd love to see Hawk come in, but I don't think he does. To be honest, and I don't know. I haven't spoke to him
They're
yet.
both super. Well, Hawk's a superstar, and Cam
Yes.
Guthrie is a ridiculously
Great
good
player.
player when he's up and about.
And so
but
is Sam
you're not
De Koning.
rolling those
No.
dices in a prelim.
One change, I would have thought.
And Shannon Neal's just done everything asked of him
Yes.
since being asked to
Spot on.
replace
He
and
took
fill
9
the role.
marks last week.
And was
He
good.
kicked 2
Two
goals.
goals.
But it took 9 marks. That's
and
good.
he's got the nickname Scratcher, so that's good enough.
Yeah.
All right, a break.
you.
Purple.
And then we'll look at some positives out of the finals.
About time.
Damian Barrett has stuck around some positives from semi-final weekends.
Yeah, and there were plenty, Rabsy, from the winning teams, and the Brisbane Lions, I think, is a good starting point here, Bill. A lot of people have given a lot of grief to Joe Daniher over a long
yes.
period of time, but his finals record is actually very,
very
good.
Is it good, is
Yeah,
it?
it
What do
is
you got
good.
there?
Well, he's played 11 finals now for 27 goals.
That's all right. Yes.
And if you want to go back to his very first final as a second-year player, which was the 2014 elimination final, Jim, famous game, you remember
Yes.
it well. North came from about 37 down, but he kicked 4 in that
Yes.
as still a teenager.
So
and
what,
then
11
you go
finals?
to last year's grand final, Bill.
Yeah.
He's winning a Norm Smith medal if they had kicked an extra 5 points. They lost the game by 4 points to
He
Collingwood.
wins the
and
Norm Smith. you reckon?
I reckon he does. I reckon he does win the North Smith. If Brisbane Lions win the game last year against Collingwood, I think he overtakes Bobby Hill in that regard.
Well, 11 finals, 27 goals.
Yeah, not quite as good as you.
Well, I think 17 finals and 60 goals.
Yeah. But
That
I
doesn't-
pump you up.
Doesn't
I
matter.
don't.
Different era.
Hey, but that first of all, the goal from the boundary, and then that mark.
The mark on
with
Sam Taylor.
Yeah.
And the pressure that
And
was
the
on
kick
that
that-
kick, there was
yes.
more pressure on that than even though it was an easier kick than the one off the boundary, wasn't it? Because there was expectation on that second
'Cause
kick.
the
There was
thing-
no
That's right.
expectation on the previous
The
one.
thing the Lions can do is kick inaccurately.
Yes.
That's their big
Yeah.
downfall.
But he just sees that moment, didn't he?
Yeah, he
that,
did.
that moment of 1 minute and 30 seconds where he kicked his third and fourth goals
Yep.
of the
No,
game,
impossible
put
to
them
argue
in
that
front,
point.
and then they held on. And what a moment it was, and what a performance. Love Will Ashcroft's 2 finals. I know they all belted the Carlton Footy Club the previous week, but he was really good in that. He's been good in the 11 matches that he's returned this season from a knee reconstruction, and it's still hard to comprehend fully that this is a second-year player having missed 12 months of football inside those 2 seasons that he's played to be so dominant in big moments
He's
and big
one of
matches.
those blokes who you get the sense sees the game half a second before everyone else, and then just is in the right spot and does the right thing. And his brother Levi is coming this off season.
Yes.
so he's a jet.
And
so
all
they're going
those
to get 2 of them.
judges in that space say that he's already got him covered.
Yep.
That's
Well,
Has he?
He's
that
got some
can often
nice
happen.
swag.
Yeah.
I know that much.
Does
So Joe got 1
Which I
vote,
love.
1 coach's vote. Will Ashcroft got 5. Jesse Hogan got 7.
Yeah,
He was
He was
good.
brilliant.
Jeez,
Yeah.
he clunked it.
He had a great
clunking.
year, Jesse. Hogan.
Yeah.
He had 5 goals to three-quarter time, Jesse, and there was a problem. And now Port Adelaide, we discussed it on Saturday, but I just want to back over the performances of their lesser lights, particularly Jace Burgoyne and Logan Evans, and the roles that they played. Mitch Georgiades, again, like Will Ashcroft, Bill, coming off a knee
Keep going.
reconstruction.
There's
and
another one you haven't got to.
Who's that?
Will.
Will Rioli.
Oh,
Yeah.
outstanding.
Yeah, but I didn't put him in the lesser lights category. I've got him.
he's a
I've got
star.
him as a genuine star.
So Jace Burgoyne, 10 coaches.
Yeah,
votes on
I
five.
feel that's the right result,
Yep.
Bill. He was
Yep.
so clean, wasn't he? And
And he's skinny.
tough.
He's
Yeah.
skinny, and you think he's going to get bowled over here, but
And then presented for
his
that
uncle
goal.
and his old man were bloody good
Oh.
in the heat too.
Yeah.
Well, that 2004 grand final win by Port Adelaide, the Peter Burgoyne performance was
superb.
extraordinary. I know that Pickett got the medal, but it could have been Peter Burgoyne.
Choppy.
Yeah, so
man.
they got a decision to make too. Obviously, they had Marshall get concussed in the game. They had already made pre-match a decision to take Charlie Dixon out, and they also were forced to remove Ryan Burton prior to the game with injury as well. So Dixon and Burton, considerations to come back in. I wouldn't be surprised if they go with Dixon just to sort of see out the time.
Wow.
Yeah,
He's had a week
they,
off.
Marshall's obviously not available with the concussion.
Oh,
so.
and
He's had a
Jason
bad run.
Horne-Francis ended up having the Mark Richardson,
he did.
the full body cramp. Remember when he played that Swedish
Oh,
fella in
mate,
India?
yeah. Well, I think
And
we've
then-
got
And
it.
then was like a salmon on the deck, just flapping around.
And the Glenn Maxwell moment too
Yes.
in the World Cup.
But a
He's-
dead leg when he was getting carried off.
Yep.
yeah.
He'll be right.
He'll be
He'll
right.
bounce back.
Um,
Good.
The GWS aspect, and this is where we get to the negatives now, Bill, it is going to be very hard to overcome what has happened to that footy club. If you want to tally this up, and I know you do like
righto.
taking
I
little
like me little-
notations.
Hang on, we
Yes.
got Richo first. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, goodness me.
The commentator, goodness me. Yes.
No, I'm with you, Purple. I said because you and I know all about this. It doesn't matter how big a lead North Melbourne have; they are very capable of losing the game from anywhere.
Yep.
But you don't want when you're a group of players as good as GWS, you don't want that mindset where you think we could still get nutted here.
Yeah.
You're 44 points up in a semi.
Yep.
You should not be dropping that game.
And 28 points up the previous
Yeah, the
week in a
previous
qualifying
week.
final
Twice.
against the Swans, and twice in that particular
the
game.
Orange team, right,
Yep.
led in finals, the two finals they played,
Yes,
led for 250 minutes,
yes,
and they trailed by 16.
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was it. And they lost two
and then
games.
Adam Kingsley's got a lot of work to do
Yeah,
to
he
turn
does.
that around.
If you want to get more specific, Bill, in the last quarters of those two finals, 3 goals, 3, 4.
Yes.
And 12 goals, 6
Against.
against. Yeah. So you're not winning finals. And what that is doing to this club is leaving at least a preliminary final on the table.
Yep.
And when it's all said and done, a grand final, because last year they lost a preliminary final by 1 point. So
Yeah.
their last 3 finals have been 1 point, 6 points, and 5
Well,
point
so
losses.
the evidence of that is you're good enough to get that far in front against two very good teams,
Yep.
but then you can't hang on. I mean, that'd be devastating.
they would be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sydney Swans too. Again, it's a problem that Geelong has got in that good ways that problems can be. Does Taylor Adams or Robbie Fox replace Callum Mills, who is clearly going to miss the prelim final with a hamstring injury, and I would imagine he's already out of the following week should they get through. So one of Taylor Adams and Robbie Fox are in the running there.
Yep.
And then you just throw forward quickly, Bill, that we know and have known now for a fortnight that both Tom Barris and Josh Battle are heading toward Hawthorn, which...
Will they get there easy?
Yeah, they'll get there. They'll absolutely both get there. So,
Purple, I suggest you, if you're in your car, the nice Chariot driving home, you just keep it on 105.1.
What do you
'cause
got?
You're about
Topics-
to hear.
Topics Brownless?
I think Topics Brownless at his, I think worst.
Lock it on the rock.
So just stand by for
you-
what he thinks is going to fly by way of Topics Brownless.
I'm not
Sometimes,
sure.
Jim, the worse it is, the better it is.
Well,
Is that-
not sometimes. That's been his role in this show now for 15
You're
years.
knocking my confidence. I'm not sure about it. Now.
What, are you starting to waver?
I'm
Can you
wavering.
tease it for me before I leave?
Mm,
Is it something unusual?
There's an unusual.
I don't
on
want
the
to
end of it.
trump you, right?
Righto.
Oh.
Here we go.
Oh, not
That's
bad,
not a
not
bad tease, actually, from old Azerbaijan. Well done, Purple.
You can hear more of Damo on the Midweek Rub on Wednesday. This is Triple M's Rush Hour.
Yeah, goodness.